Just practicing.
Okay.
Welcome to this is episode 3, isn't it, guys? Yeah,
It's
feels like
episode
4.
3.
Yeah, just double checking, getting the facts right. After all, everything after this is not based upon facts, so let's get this one fact right. Boom, 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 boom.
4 men in a wormhole.
Welcome to episode 3 of 4 Men in a Wormhole. And once again, this is me, Stephen Gurevitz, presenting, hosting, introducing, and waffling on. And joining me, as always, is Simon Cohen. Hello, Simon Cohen.
Hello.
Hello, man of not so many words, at least we're on the introductions. And Adam Leach.
Hello.
Hello. And the one and only Tal Silverman.
Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm
Hello.
waving for the purposes of those listening on Spotify.
Yes, and for those who miss going for gold.
I love the fact that in your introduction, Tal, you always assume that there's people listening.
Well,
I love
I live
that.
in hope.
Optimism.
Yes, Tal's going for syndication on cable and satellite. Anyway, let's dive straight into our first subject, which is what sci-fi have we enjoyed since the last episode? So we're going to go straight into Adam Leach, and I'd like to know what you've been enjoying.
This is very exciting. I've been watching Voyager, and I wanted to watch the first ever episode, first 2 episodes, because I'd seen a couple of the episodes, but I'd never seen the start. So I wanted to find out how it started. So that was really cool. But the episode I want to talk about that I watched was episode 3 or 4.
Well, that's the question, because on the last episode, no one's too sure if you've been watching the second part of the first episode or the first part of the third episode. It's like a guest minister kind of thing.
Yeah. So the first one is a double episode, and it's on as one episode on Netflix. Just to clarify that. But this was actually I was watching episode 3, but it reminds me a bit of like last week. Simon mentioned sci-fi that's about sort of pandemics and that were before a pandemic. So this episode of Voyager, basically they're sort of just meandering around the Delta Quadrant, and they think they stumbled across this planet that's full of raw dilithium, which I thought, well, if they could do that, would solve all the problems of Discovery right there, wouldn't it? If someone in Discovery could do the same thing. Anyway, they beam down to this planet, and Neelix, the chef, obviously beams down in the away team, and he gets zapped by this alien who steals his lungs. Steals his lungs, and the aliens bugger off with his lungs. The next part of the episode is Voyager and these aliens going around in a kind of Benny Hill kind of way, chase through the Delta Quadrant. Anyway, they catch up with them, they find them, then they beam the 2 aliens on board to the Voyager and hold them. They beam them out, and they're standing next to them just at phaser point, and they explain why they nicked Neelix's lungs, and they nick his lungs because this race of aliens have been fighting a virus for millennia. They've been ravaged. That whole society has been ravaged by this virus, and these aliens look like zombies.
Well, think how long they've been in lockdown.
Yeah, they've been. Yeah, they got bits of their brain hanging out. They're completely obviously they're infected by this virus, and they nick the lungs because they can't make their own, and they repair themselves by nicking up things. So they were just having this conversation, and Janeway's getting really annoyed in a kind of sort of teachery kind of way at them because they nicked his lungs. And the way they get out of it is that the aliens go, yeah, but we're really advanced medically, so we can fix Neelix. So just show us where he is in your medical bay, and we'll fix him up. And then they stroll. I just think no one had a mask on, no one washed any hands, and there was no social distancing, and this was a virus that had ravaged a society for millennia.
The transporter beam filters out any viruses, though, doesn't it? When it's beamed on the ship,
does it? I was wondering about.
But hold on, Simon. Then surely, you're right. You're right, Simon, but that also solves the whole problem. Surely they just need to beam the entire population on and off
onto the Voyager, yeah,
and everyone's fine.
Yeah, I mean those aliens I think were quite prevalent in the first couple of seasons of Voyager. So I think probably if they'd eliminated the virus in episode 3, they would have had to rewritten rewritten quite a bit.
So is
But
it right?
Sorry.
So is that correct then that when they go through the
They're meant
Yes,
to.
Yeah,
transport-
mentioned a few times in a few things, isn't it? That a couple of episodes, maybe even the original series. I'm not sure, but I think
Which is why in Enterprise, even though I also thought it was clearly there for semi-pornographic reasons, is they didn't use the transporter, and whenever they came back from an away mission, they had to
shower.
rub each other in this weird massaging cream and take all their clothes off except for very tight-fitting underwear and sit in a blue room with their bodies resting against each other
I have
for a
no
period
memory
of time.
I have no memory of that episode. Are you sure you were watching Enterprise?
I'm pretty sure that was Enterprise. It's amazing they cancelled it, but it's that was definitely a major part of Enterprise, where you would see the good-looking Vulcan, who's a model of real life, who would just be there in her very tight top,
dousing herself down.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. I'm done.
And meanwhile, Tal and Simon, I believe you've been watching the Mandalorian, or as I call it, the Mandolin. But Tal, you want to dive in with something maybe just a little bit controversial. So over to you.
Well, I will. I've got actually, before I do that, there's two things I want to mention. One isn't Mandalorian related, so it's just in terms of my week. Neither of these things actually are technically sci-fi, because I know we've sort of excluded Mandalorian anyway. But I'm actually reading a book called Soonish, which is actually a popular science book, but I don't know whether it is a popular science book because it's about 10 emerging technologies that are coming through, and it's whether or not they're going to be kind of life-changing or whether they'll just kind of fall on the backside.
Oh, but that raises an interesting. We can discuss this another week. Is there just this difference between science fiction and the modern art or industry of, what do they call it, a futurist?
Yeah, well, this is basically a futurist type look at things. It's kind of, looking at where we're at with technology, where we're headed, what the difficulties are, and things like that. And it's funny enough because it actually mentions, one of the chapters is on programmable matter, which came up in this week's Discovery. So it's kind of it's an interesting little book, but it's I don't think Adam will like it because it's not particularly deep. It's quite a very shallow look at all these things. It's like 10 different technologies, but it's done by it's a husband and wife team called Kelly and Zach Wiener Smith, or Vina Smith, or Vina Smith, whichever you pronounce it. Yeah, they're a husband and wife team. He's an illustrator and she's a scientist. So it's a quite quirky, kind of slightly comedic view of these things. There's lots of little cartoons that he's done with things going horribly wrong and stuff and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually a good read. But yeah, I thought it was interesting how it does tie in a little bit. And then the other thing I've been doing is, what I have watched. I'm up to date with Mandalorian. I'm glad, Simon, I know you sort of caught up now because you said you were kind of catching up on that. I've got a real issue with this season. I'm just finding it really difficult to get my head into it. I think it's just more. Honestly, it's like every episode is like an episode of MacGyver or the A-Team. It's like he just turns up.
And is that a bad thing, though?
Well, I was going to say, maybe that's why I like it, because I'm enjoying this season more than last season, and I was trying to work out why, but maybe that's it.
I don't know. I think the Littlest Hobo has got more purpose than the Mandalorian at the moment. I just think he's just kind of going off.
Don't knock the Littlest Hobo.
I've got a question.
I'm not knocking the Littlest Hobo. I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's better than Mandalorian. But.
Well, I've got a question for you, Tal, and Simon, if you want to dive in. I'm actually yet to see it, but I don't mind some spoilers because I do obviously see a lot of content on YouTube and around the interweb. It seems like the Empire are back again. Does the Empire ever go in the world of Star Wars? Simon, I see you wanting to dive straight in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought about this, and it does seem like there's a bit more Empire than we thought there would be. But I believe it's set between episodes 6 and 7, and we learn in 7 that the Empire, as in Star Wars Episode 7, we learn in 7 that the Empire has reformed, and all of it sort of separated when it fell, and then came back together. And so I think we're seeing like the little pieces of it. I think we're seeing sort of odd ships that seem to be reasonably autonomous. So I think there's allowed to be some Empire around, and it's nice. I think it's quite familiar. We didn't see much of that in season 1. And in season 2, they've tied things in a little bit more with, or at least given you a few Easter eggs and treats, I suppose. I mean, one of the big things for me of this season compared to last season is, and maybe I was just getting used to it last season because it's a very different kind of show to Star Wars. But I'm finding this season funnier. It's not a comedy. It's not supposed to be a comedy, but there are very funny moments in it. I am liking the style of the episodes. It is. Toll, you are right. It is quite formulaic, but I still like it. You know, he arrives on a planet. There's some kind of problem. He's got to solve that problem, make a few friends along the way, and then get the hell out of there. And but I'm okay with that. I think it's a really fun show. I also think it's gorgeous to watch. It's the only show at the moment that I'll turn the lights down and I'll put the sound bar on and I'll make sure the kids are out the room.
Yeah, it's very cinematic. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And they use a unique way of filming it. For those of you who don't know, it doesn't use green screens hardly at all. So the problem with green screens is lighting is never correct. Because there's no light coming from the green screen reflecting back on the characters, so lighting is always screwed. So what they use is massive high definition screens all around him, so all the actors can see the scenery as they act, and also it's emitting natural light onto them, which is the right light and the right colours, and you get natural reflections of physical bits of scenery or vehicles or whatever it may be. So it really is a cutting edge method about how they make that thing to give it a really nice aesthetic. We'll continue with the theme of Star Wars because we actually said it's not just about what we're watching, it could be what we're reading, what we're playing. And I finished the Jedi game on consoles, which came out last year, called Jedi Fallen Order. And there's been a lot of hit and miss Star Wars games over the years, and in recent years they were more multiplayer focused without a narrative. But a lot of people who are not playing games but who claim to be in Star Wars are essentially missing out on canon, because Battlefront 2 that came out last year had a single player campaign, which is the bit of story that bridges what happens after Return of the Jedi and how the Emperor, whatever name, Palpatine, stayed alive all the way to the rise of the Skywalker. So if you don't play that campaign, or at least watch the cinematic clips on YouTube, you will miss some of that lore. And this game, the story in this is also equally interesting because it's set after it's set after Order 66, where they kill all the Jedi, the famous order that the Emperor gives out, and you're one of the remaining Jedi Padawan thingamajigs, who's trying to not be noticed as a Jedi and just get on with life, but it doesn't quite work out that way. And then they go on a journey to find some special, bit like the Thing. They were looking forward to find Luke Skywalker with the modern movies. They're looking for a thing that can give the location of every Force-enabled child, and so they want to get hold of it before the Empire. I won't give away the plot twist at the end, but the point is, it's a wonderfully beautiful game.
Did you say Force-enabled child?
Yes, a Force-enabled child.
Is that how you describe if you have the Force within you?
Like a Force
it's almost like there's a button that this one's Force-enabled.
Yeah, Force-enabled, Force-aware.
It's the X button, isn't it?
It's the X. Force aware, Force enabled, whatever you may wish to choose to term it. But it's a really
there's a higher resale value if they're Force enabled.
Yes, exactly. And it's beautifully put together. The artwork is lovely. The acting is excellent. And I have to say, it's a more compelling. I mean, I still think Rogue One or Rogue Squadron, whatever it's called, was a much better film than any of the actual main Star Wars films. But this game, the plot line and the acting is better than the other recent Skywalker films as well. And so I recommend, again, if you can't be bothered to play the game, watch the YouTube cinematics just to tell you what's going on. And if you can't be bothered to play the game, but don't have so much time, play it in easy so you can go through it really quickly. But it's a really good game, and I definitely recommend. It's a good way of adding to your Star Wars lore without it being too taxing.
4 men in a wormhole.
Moving on. We've covered highlights since the last episode. We're going to do a look back and a look forward to look back at Ready Player One and look forward to Ready Player Two?
Yeah, well, I think all I want to say is Ready Player One. I think when I read that, I was blown away by it. I thought it was one of my most favourite books. I think Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is one of my favourite, if not my favourite, sci-fi / comedy books. And reading Ready Player One, it was just awesome. It was just like I hadn't read something or been so excited to read something for ages. I think it's just brilliant. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to praise it. I'm sure people know it, but it's story of a guy called Wade Watts, and society is sort of it's not post-apocalyptic, is it? But it's set in the near future where society is crumbling and people escape by going into a virtual world called the Oasis, and it's about kind of control of the Oasis when the founder of the Oasis dies and sets a challenge to anyone. It's open to everyone and if they can meet the challenge, they can get control of the Oasis. And it's a brilliant book because it's about the future, but it's also there's a lot of it's sort of retro kind of. It looks back to a lot of like 1980s sort of early 80s popular culture, as well as early kind of computer culture as well. So it kind of, for me, I don't sort of like this perfect combination of things to combine. I often think that that when I look back, I think it feels like it was written for me. I think what's amazing. I think what's great about the book is how it talks about the future and it talks about some of the ideas of like immersive virtual reality, but it's also a kind of look back at the same time and reminiscent about 80s technology and 80s as well.
Yeah. Good. Tal, do you want to dive in?
I love the book, and again for the nostalgia reasons as well. I thought it was great, and it was really well written, very easy read, which was brilliant. I had a massive issue with the film, and I'm sure it's something that loads of people bring up all the time, and even you alluded to it, Stephen. But I made not a mistake, but I read the book probably about 2 or 3 weeks before I went to see the film.
Yeah.
And so I spent the entire film going, I'm sure that's not what happened in the book. And I'm sure it didn't happen in that order. And that's not even the right character and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think it was just the level to which they changed the story, which I know you have to do for putting a book into a film. But I think the thing for me was more about I just really struggled with that. And the fact they didn't even it didn't even start from the first Easter egg. It was like, the third one in or whatever it was. And, I just spent too much time. I think if I'd have had it, and I think it's a shame because I'm not saying it was a bad film, because I think I probably would have really enjoyed the film if I hadn't read the book or I'd had like a 6-month gap between the book and the film. I think I would have put the film in its own right and just gone, yeah, it's a good film, whereas I just really struggled. I don't know whether anyone else felt that. I mean,
well, I know exactly what you're saying, Tal. I re-listened to the audiobook just in the last month or so, and was thinking about the film weirdly as I was reading the book. But mainly I was thinking there's too much in this book to put into a movie. And so, and certainly the first probably third of the book where there's this sort of very rich description of what the Oasis is, and all of Halliday. Is it Halliday?
Halliday, James Halliday.
All of James Halliday's sort of history and life, and what got him into gaming and coding, and the and the era, the TV, the films, the music, the gaming. It goes into so much detail, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's literally like a third of the book before they even find the first gate. I think the first key, the copper key. You can't have that in a movie. It just would take too long to get people interested, and it would be too long. And weirdly for me, I'll shut up in a minute. But I don't read books, right? I get bored very, very quickly reading books, and I did find that Ready Player One does kind of take some time to get going, even as a book. But but it still kept me going. And so often I start reading the book and I get to the end of the second page, or maybe I'll get to the end of the chapter and I'll just go, it hasn't grabbed me yet, and I'll just put it down. I've got no patience, and as a result of that, I don't read many books at all. But Ready Player One, I just thought was amazing as a book.
I agree with Tom. I mean, I almost think of the film as entirely separate from the book. I think there's some films that do it really well. That there's always too much in a book to get into film. But some films capture the essence of the books. I'd say the Harry Potter films are a good example of that. Was they're not everything, but they capture the essence in a way of the book, and you can recognise the book. The pages of the book in the film, at least that's my perspective. But I didn't find that with the film Ready Player One at all.
I was the same. What would be really interesting, and I guess when we go on to talk about Ready Player Two, what's going to be interesting is if Ready Player Two, if he's written Ready Player Two more as a screenplay when he's written the book. Do you know what I mean? Because it'll be interesting to see how that then translates into the film.
I mean, it was so disappointing to say that you've got Spielberg doing the film, who was actually provided so many of those 80s films that are referenced in the book. You think this is a perfect director for this, and then he seemed to kind of drop the ball with it. And I just think,
But tell us about book number 2 in terms of your hopes.
So I have to say, on book number 2, I have started reading it. So I think I've read, but so no spoilers. But I haven't really got past the kind of synopsis that we know, which. And Simon knows very well how much of a bar humbug I am around sequels and series 2s, and I have got this dread around the synopsis.
There's no way you're going to like this. No
chance. I'm setting myself up to not like it to begin with. But I was really excited about Ready Player 2. I have been waiting for it for years, but I've read the synopsis, which I'll read out, and then I just thought. I'm more worried, not less worried. So here we go. So Ready Player 2, an unexpected quest. 2 worlds at stake. Are you ready? Days after Oasis founder James Halliday's contest, Wade Watts makes a discovery that changes everything. Hidden within Halliday's vaults, waiting for his heir to find, lies a technological advancement that will once again change the world and make the Oasis more wondrous. More addictive, blah blah blah. With it comes new riddles and a new quest and the last Easter egg from Halliday, blah 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 blah. So
it doesn't sound very good from that.
It's just kind of, and I've read the first chapter, which is just setting out this, and it is just like the first quest finishes, it picks up exactly Wade Watts now running the Oasis in his big desk, but I've forgotten the name of the company. Gregarious Games, that's it. So he's there on the top floor, and then he finds a clue that takes him to a vault and another egg that opens, and it's another quest from Halliday. And you think, so Halliday is spent all that time on that Easter egg quest last time, which was almost his dying farewell gift, and that he wasn't even sure anyone would even find, because it took years before the quest even started. So you got to think that someone like that wasn't even sure anyone would ever solve the riddle and complete the quest. So while he had done all that, he also then built a whole nother quest
just in case.
And I really hope. What I really loved about Ready Player One, the book that wasn't in the film, was the twist. It had this really good twist where it went from the virtual world to the real world when Wade became an indented servant for IOI Industries, and I felt that was a really, really changed up the novel and the pace of the novel. You think you know where you are, suddenly he's out in the real world, and he's I'm just hoping that Klein has got a similar trick up his sleeve, that we all kind of have an assumption about, we know where this is going to go, and he changes it up and goes somewhere else.
When they talk about how games follow movies, And they say in the last 10, 15 years it started to change, which is why you look at the Marvel movies and essentially they're just video games with people
you know
in
the scene that's
underpants.
going to be a video game, don't you?
Yeah,
There's scenes where you go, oh, that's going to be for the video game.
But essentially the movies are video games now. And reading the précis of what Ready Player 2, it just sounds like a video game sequel. We're in a new level, and
It's
there's
the
another
next level.
level boss.
It's the next level. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
For me, the interesting thing is going to be what's happening in the real world, and I know, and it sounds from this synopsis and from kind of the fact that it leaves off, it's almost like, is there even going to be any real world in this? So, it's like, it'll be interesting to see whether they just spend the entire book film in the virtual world, and that's enough. I mean, and it is, obviously there's not lots you can do with it because it's completely open universe. You can do whatever you like, and there's no laws of physics and all the other stuff. But I just kind of think you're right, Adam. I think the interesting bit is what's happening in the slightly dystopian kind of side.
I totally agree with that. And in the first novel, he kind of hints at obviously how the world is going to pop, and Wade and Artemis hint how that they're going to save the online world, and then they're going to go on to save the real world.
No, but not both of them. Artemis was going to save the real world. Wade wanted to go live in a space station.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. which we would do, right? That's what I would do. But I hoped that the sequel would go on to that and would go on to say, what did Wade do next and how did he save the world? But I'm not sure that's where it's going to go.
Simon?
Well, I was going to say exactly the same as Adam. The fact that they talked about what they would do if they won in the first book, I was hoping that they would go and at least try and do that in the second one, especially and no one wants it to be a really cheesy sequel, but the world is in a mess, and they did talk about saving the world, so maybe they'll try. Who knows? But maybe there's do we know if there's a third book? Do we know if this is a
his publishing deal will say there's a third book. His publishing deal will confirm there's a third book.
And is that third book going to be called Game Over? I don't think they'll call it just called Game Over. But what would that mean? Is that game over for the Oasis? Game over for the world? Who knows?
I think it's worth stating that even though I haven't started reading the book, the fact that the précis is there's a baddie who's going to kill millions. From what I remember, you can't physically die whilst in the Oasis. It's not like
but there is, you can't. But what I know from this new bit of technology alluded to.
Well, now you can. It's like if you get shot.
I don't know.
It's like the Matrix now. It's like the Matrix. You die in the Matrix, you die.
Yeah. There's something I think that along those lines that might unfold. There's a way that the Oasis has now become a bit more linked to the real world. I won't say.
There you go. We'll come to, and before we move on to our next subject, it's worth mentioning that I think in a future episode, taking into account they're now filming it, we will have to do a review of the Matrix and start speculating what on earth they could be doing for the next film.
We should definitely have a Matrix episode.
Absolutely. Hopefully, it will be shorter than the actual length of the fight sequences in just one of the films.
4 men in a wormhole.
So now we're going to move on to a new feature, which we may do from time to time, called Marvel, Would I Lie to You? And this is introduced this week by Adam Leach. Adam, explain to us how you came up with this wonderful new game.
I don't think this is going to be a feature.
I think it might be.
I really don't.
I think our 3 listeners might write in.
There we go. Anyway, so this, you can't even see it, can you?
No.
There we go.
Now we can.
The Marvel Encyclopedia, which was bought for me as a gift. I didn't go out and purchase this. Someone thought Adam would like this, and they bought it for me.
Don't be embarrassed, Adam.
So I was flicking through the pages, and I was looking at all the superheroes. It's got all, it's got Iron Man, it's got Spider-Man, it's got all the backstory. It's got some superheroes that are less well known, but it's got all their backstory. And I was flicking through, and I thought there's some really obscure superheroes here in the Marvel universe. This is the Marvel comic universe as opposed to the Marvel cinematic universe. So what I thought would be fun was I'm going to read out description of 4 superheroes, 3 of which are genuine Marvel superheroes, and 1 is not. 1 is one that I've made up. So the game is for you guys to guess which one is the made up one.
Brilliant. Excellent. Yeah,
let's do it.
I've got pen and paper. I'm taking notes.
You can take notes. Right, where am I going to start from? Let's start. there. Right. So I've got like a bit of. Right. So I'm going to start. So the first one here is Mr. Sensitive. Okay. His real name is Guy Smith, and he's an adventurer. His special powers are superhuman senses, superhuman speed, and the ability to levitate himself. Not other things, just himself. Mr. Sensitive.
Okay.
Right, so you got
That definitely sounds suspicious, that one.
Yeah.
Could be that one.
Then the second one here, we've got Millie the model. I quite like Millie the model. Real name is Millicent Millie Collins. She, what can I say? Her occupation is she's a fashion model, actress, and business executive. Her special abilities, this is rather special for a Marvel superhero, are none. But she has the poise and grace of a top fashion model and some fighting ability.
Like Black Widow, but on the catwalk.
I don't know whether you would. I
She's
think
the female Zoolander.
I think saying some fighting ability is underselling Black Widow, isn't it?
Yeah, she's the female Zoolander. That's what it comes down to. So
right.
Wow.
Then
that's definitely suspicious, that one, Adam.
Then we've got Dr. Dong.
Ding Dong.
Dr. Dong. Real name, Lester Verde. And his occupation is a genetic engineer. His special abilities, when struck by a large metal ball he wears on his hand, Dr. Dong's helmet can produce a sonic wave for a variety of effects.
Sorry, someone called Dr. Dong. His helmet creates large sonic effects.
Indeed.
Genetically engineered helmet, basically.
That's the one. Right. And my last one here that I'm going to read out to you. This superhero is called Leech.
That's your name?
Leech, yeah. He doesn't have a real name. He's just known as Leech.
Not Leech Man?
He's not Leech Man. He's not Super Leech.
It's not Leechy.
It's not Leechy. It's just Leech. Leech can dampen the superhuman powers of any superhero or villain, mutant or not, within his proximity up to a range of 30 feet.
That would be useless against Millie the model, wouldn't it? Because she's got no power.
Yeah, she could just kick his ass.
Well, a little bit.
So there you go.
Is that 30 feet line of sight? What if there's a wall in the way?
30 feet. It doesn't matter. Just you've got to be within 30 feet.
So Adam, just to clarify, only one of these are fake.
No. Oh yes, one of them is fake. One of them is fake.
Okay.
Yeah,
do we have
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you for clarifying that.
Do we have an opportunity to question you? Can we ask questions?
Yeah, you can ask me some questions. So just to recap, we've got Mr. Sensitive, Millie the model, Dr. Dong, and Leech.
What's the name of Millie the model's business?
Obviously, I will endeavour to find out. I don't have, I only have what information that is presented to me here.
Or that you can make up quickly.
Have you got pictures? You've got pictures, though, yeah? Adam, you've got pictures?
I've got pictures.
Okay.
When you say Mr. Sensitive has got super...
hold on, I'm going to say...
Hold on. We're on my question first. What's the name of Millie's business?
Oh, I didn't ask the question.
There's no information on that. Her boyfriend is a photographer.
Oh. Called Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So you had a question.
I can't remember what it was now. Oh yeah, Mr. Sensitive. So he's got superhuman senses, as in he's got an enormous nose and big ears. Do you mean like that, or as in those?
He actually looks a bit like. He looks a bit like Ant-Man for some reason. He's got these antennae. He looks a bit like Ant-Man. Would be the best way I'd describe him.
Description.
Any
And,
other questions?
Does Dr. Dong wear other than the helmet? What else does he wear?
I'll tell you. So he's kind of got a bell as a head. And
hold on. So Dr. Dong's a bell end.
yeah, he's got a bell
Under
on
the
his head,
helmet is a bell end, yes.
and he's got a red cape
Yeah.
with like sort of Superman type boots.
Did he make the suit himself?
I have a quick peruse, yeah. It doesn't say.
And what does Leech wear? What does he wear?
Let me it's Leech. I only have a picture. He looks a lot like Yoda. Is sort of green. He seems to wear something beige. It's like something very similar to this.
Okay, I think I know which is the lie.
Simon, who do you think is the lie? Go for it.
I think Mr. Sensitive. I think he's made that up.
Tal, going to put you on the
That was
spot.
me as well. I was say the same, Mr. Sensitive.
I'm going to say Dr. Dong.
Okay. Well, I can reveal to you that Millie the model is a genuine Marvel character. I can also reveal to you that Leech is also a genuine Marvel character.
Oh.
Mr. Sensitive is a genuine Marvel character.
Oh,
Yes!
it's the Dong.
It's the Dong.
Dr.
Ding
Dong is a made-up character.
dong.
However, I have only changed one character in a real superhero.
Is it Dr.
so
Wong?
Dr. Bong
Bong.
is a genuine superhero, and he is as I described. So that is the weird world of Marvel.
It was Dr. Bong's bell end then.
Yeah, it's a genuine one, and his name's Dr. Bong. I think you can't make this shit up. I literally couldn't make this shit up.
Now the bell makes more sense, right? Because if his head is a bell and it makes bong.
Yeah.
Except Adam, I just want to point out, because I know sometimes we're into science fiction and it can all come very real. When you say you couldn't make this up, actually someone did make it.
You can. You can make it up.
can.
But what I said is, what I should have said, I couldn't make it up.
You couldn't make it up.
I couldn't make it up, but I was happy to use someone else. But Dr. Bong, real person.
Excellent.
Brilliant. We should do this again.
Adam is adamant that we can't do it again, but I think
it. We've plummeted the depths of the Marvel universe. We can't do that.
We
again.
will definitely. We will play Marvel. Would I lie to you again at some point in the future? I just like to know what I'm going to win as a prize. That's
I didn't think about that. I think Simon will think about buying you a T-shirt.
Yay!
Yeah, I don't mind thinking about buying you a T-shirt.
So maybe you'd find it on Amazon. You'd hover over the buy button, but not actually get it.
Yeah, and I can think about wearing it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you once I've thought about it, and then you can think about wearing it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It sounds like a wonderful prize. So now moving on to our regular feature, which is repeating because it's regular. So that's what regular things do.
4 men in a wormhole.
We're moving on to Tal's feature. Tal,
Hello.
what's your feature? Hello.
So my feature this week, I thought we'd keep the theme, and I would pick up from where Adam left off, and it would be good if we could. We've got 4 interesting characters going on there, so let's choose 2 from our list of previous Marvel characters and see whether they can have a bit of a punch up and see who comes out on top. So, I guess Mr. Bong, Mr. Dong, or Mr. Bong has got to be in there.
Dr. Bong has definitely got to be in there.
Can we make it the Adam version? Can it be Dr. Dong?
Yeah,
Dr. Dong. Yeah, Dr. Dong and his enormous sonic bell end can have a go at whoever's gonna. I think he'd be a good match against Mr. Sensitive. Really, with levitation. He could levitate away from Dr. Bong's Dong. What do we think? So go on, give us a little summary of Mr. Sensitive's powers again?
So he has superhuman senses, superhuman speed, and the ability to levitate himself.
Great. So he's got.
He was raised as an orphan.
So he's got super speed.
He was erroneously raised as an orphan.
Erroneously, what, by accident?
Yeah. Well, he believed his parents were dead, and then was raised as, I don't know whether just believing they were dead makes you end up being an orphan.
I mean, if you're still living with your parents, but you're just in denial, how do you end up living with someone else?
And through that, he became extremely sensitive to his surroundings.
Okay.
And he's super fast. They're like the Flash. Then he's super fast.
Yeah, super fast.
But every so often he stops being fast and meditates. In effect,
I think
and smells stuff.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Dong might win this one because he will just like create massive sonic waves that are going to overload.
Oh yeah, Mr. Sensitive is going to hate that, aren't they?
Yeah,
it's
going to just overwhelm him.
Yeah, and whilst he's meditating or levitating, Dr. Dong may just hit him with his dong.
Yeah,
or his bell end.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer.
I think Dr. Dong's won it, hasn't he?
I think Dr. Dong's won.
I think Dr. Dong.
He's also 8'8", whereas Mr. Sensitive is only 5'10".
Is that before or after he levitates?
Is this sort of sonic attack from Dr. Bong? Is it directional? Because Mr. Sensitive is fast, right? If he can see something coming, he's getting out of the way really quickly. I'm not saying that Mr. Sensitive is going to win, but I'm just saying it could be a long fight. I think he could last out because he can sense stuff happening. He got sense of smell. He knows where the other guy is, and he can move really quickly. So I think he might take a while to take down. But I still think that Dr. Dong's got it.
On that bombshell, on that dong shell, I should say. I think this concludes episode 3 of 4 Men in a Wormhole. Simon Cohen, as always, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, Simon, you have a really, really good background this time. Charles, want to thank you and also mention your background was made by you yourself. There we go, everyone. Look at Charles' background. What a lovely first. Charles, thank you for joining us. And Adam, thank you very much for joining us and bringing to us the delight which was Marvel, Would I Lie to You? I think we've all enjoyed playing that today. So thank you. And so we'd like to thank our audience. Remember to email us at the address that we don't yet have. Remember to leave some comments on our YouTube page if you watch us on YouTube. And if not, subscribe on iTunes, hit the like button, do all the things you were meant to do.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button right now. No. And we got 4 subscribers.
Nice.
Well, one of them's me.
Okay.
One of them may be me.
Yeah.
I'd never subscribe to this shit.
That's all right. We've got one subscriber. Brilliant.
Yay. Yeah. So on that, another bombshell. Thank you very much for joining us. And this is 4 Men in a Wormhole signing off.
4 Men in a Wormhole.